Hello, we are Giselle and Agustina, and our topic is reading. First of all, many second language learners need good reading skills in English, and reading has always been an important focus of English language teaching programs. Despite of this, many students still read in English with difficulty, since their poor reading skills in their first language. We have the reading differences. Past reading. In the past, reading was usually taught by providing text that the students read followed by a comprehension question. Today's reading, students need to access, analyze, authenticate, and apply information acquired from different sources and turn it into useful personal knowledge. When we read, literacy skills play a vital role in people's life every day. At home, at school, at work, and in their communities. In a single day, an adult may use reading for many different purposes. Second language learners may need reading skills in English for similar purposes. Academic reading skills. The ability to read effectively for academic purposes is crucial for many readers, particularly for the students enrolled worldwide in universities where English is the medium of instruction. And also the ability of critical reading is particularly important for students who need reading skills for academic purposes. Purpose of reading. The purpose for reading also affects the way a person reads. In reading for academic or professional purposes, the reader may need to synthesize information for different sources, remember points of similarity and differences, and finding a way to organize the information for later use. Approaches to teaching reading. After the 1920s, difficulties in implementing the direct method to teach resulted in a reading approach that was developed throughout this period. This uses both intensive reading for detailed comprehension as well as extensive reading skills for general comprehension. The nature of second language reading, type of knowledge. Grammatical knowledge. We know that successful readers make use of syntactic language knowledge to determine the overall meaning of the sentence. Then we have vocabulary knowledge. Good readers have a good, large vocabulary and continue to add their vocabulary throughout their life, mainly through reading. Readers with smaller vocabularies will require a lot more instructional support. Then we have pure knowledge. Readers bring many different kinds of pure knowledge to reading, including knowledge about the topic of the text and the events featured in them. The reading process. Fluent reading is said to involve an interaction between bottom-up and top-down processing. Bottom-up processes suggest that when a reader processes a text, they do so in a certain order. And then top-down processing involves listening and reading suggests that the reader make use of the background knowledge together with conceptual knowledge and processing strategies. Levels of comprehension. Reading comprehension can also be described in terms of different levels of comprehension associated with reading. These are referred to as literary comprehension, reorganization, interferal comprehension, evaluation, appreciation. Then we have inferencing. This refers to arriving at the meaning which has not been explicitly stated in a text but making links between information in the text and our knowledge of the word. Fluency in reading. Grave argued that in order to understand the complexity of reading, it is necessary to focus on the processes made use of by fluent readers and to ask questions about what they do when they read and how the processes they use work together to contribute to a general notion of reading. Reading skills and strategies. They are generally understood to be related to each other, with skills being the non-conscious habits that have been established throughout practice and repetition, whereas strategies are deliberate and goal-direct responses to reading tasks. Reading skills, many SL and ELT reading courses focus on the development of both general and specific reading skills. Sometimes skills may be selected for a particular kind of reading or which are important for reading particular kind of text.
Now let's move on to reading strategies. When a reader encounters a text, if he or she is a strategic reader, then the approach will be adjusted, considering previous questions such as what is my purpose in reading this text, or what kind of text it is, or what kind of information do I expect to get from it. With these responses, the readers will choose the most suitable strategy to dealing with the text. They can decide at what rate to read the text, for instance, skimming, scanning, or a more slower and closer reading or a more rapid reading. They can also choose to build relationship between ideas, such as using cause and effect, comparison, contrast, and so on. And they can also choose to read critically, such as reacting to it and formulating opinions about the content. But this has to do mostly with fluent readers because they are familiar with strategies. However, poor readers make use of fewer strategies and mostly they will choose to use a word by word approach to reading. And here, teachers can make a list of the different strategies for them to use, and they can also give the different strategies together with the task, and they can also model the strategies so that they can teach directly the strategy to be used. Now we will talk about the different aspects concerning teaching reading. One of these is determining goals, and even though each lesson may have particular goals, in general terms, the goals are to expand students' knowledge either on vocabulary, text structure, and organization. Also, it talks about understanding and use of strategies, and they also give lots of reading practice and increase learners' motivations and opportunities for success in reading. In the other side, we have choosing materials. We have published materials that are specifically written text that have been adapted to remove difficulty of vocabulary, syntax, or other features. And then we have authentic text that these are often more related to the learner's needs and they can support a more creative approach to teaching. If we seek deeper into lessons, we will find that reading courses will mostly focus on developing fluency and enjoyment in reading, and there are two ways to do this. One is using speed reading, and the other using extensive reading. Speed or intensive reading has to do with reading short passages of 100 or 200 words length, no more than that, in order to make them process text more rapidly. Extensive reading, on the other side, has to do with reading in quantity for pleasure, also language development, and for creating an habit in reading. Another aim has to do with developing independent readers, as for making them responsible for their own learning, monitoring their progress, and making them aware of their own strengths and weaknesses. If we talk about conducting a reading lesson, we will find three stages of the reading process: pre reading, while reading, and post reading. Pre reading has to do with planning to read. This activates background knowledge and schemas and help give a purpose for reading. We have different activities such as scanning, skimming, questions, discussions, etc. Then we have while reading. This has to do with encouraging readers' reactions and revising their understanding and also guiding the reader, all done while they are reading. This has to do with understanding and monitoring this process. We have different activities also. And finally, we have post reading, that is may focus on the text itself, for instance, in vocabulary, grammar, or discussing organization, or to elicit the student's reaction to a content to the text. We have vocabulary activities, questions, complete notes, partial summarizes, journal writing, etc. Now we will move into assessment. Assessing reading here may have different purposes. It can be part of standardized tests, or it may attempt to improve learning and teaching, or it may be used to assess the effectiveness of teaching materials and strategies and techniques that the teachers are using. And there are also different types of tests, such as multiple choice, true false questions, and the others we can see here in the image. And these are typical types of tests of reading proficiency that the main purpose is to assess the comprehension of main ideas, the vocabulary knowledge, the fluency and reading speed, and also the critical reading skills, and so on and so forth. When the role of assessment is not to measure progress, but it aims at improving teaching and learning, as I said before, the goal will be to help students deal with reading difficulties and also to develop effective learning strategies and to improve their motivation.